A Better Start Southend, ABSS, made co-production a fundamental part of how services were designed and delivered. By working in genuine partnership with parents and carers, ABSS ensured that lived experience was not only heard, but placed at the heart of decision-making. This approach transformed the way services were shaped, placing families in the role of experts and collaborators rather than simply recipients of support. This video forms part of ABSS legacy resources, which share the knowledge gained during the programme in order to support the development of co-production elsewhere. The parents and staff from A Better Start Southend completed several co-produced projects over its 10-year life. Reflecting on their learning from their experiences, they share their tips and advice to consider when embarking on a co-production journey. Go in open-minded. Co-production is determined by the people you are engaging, and be willing to learn from all participants.
So go in open-minded. Yeah, so understand that co-production is not, it actually isn't a textbook thing. Co-production is determined and influenced by the very people you're going to engage in and embrace into that sphere. And if you're open, agile and willing to learn, be prepared for the bumps in the road, things to not work, but also be prepared that if it does have the right chemistry and work, then the rewards will be immense and the outcomes will be very valuable.
Don't do it because somebody said that it's a good thing to do. Be in it for the right reasons.
I think also, and this is obvious to say, don't do it because somebody's written somewhere or said somewhere that this is a good thing. You really have to internalise what it means and figure out how to make it work and want to do it. So, that's part of the journey as well, which is everybody will come into the frame for different reasons, but actually their ability to stay the course over a period of time depends on how much they're personally invested in it. So these are things that are not to be taken lightly. They're not to be scared of, but you need to be in it for the right reasons.
Co-production is about understanding everyone comes to the table with different views.
Again, I think we all think we know what we need, but until you speak to lots of different people from lots of different backgrounds, you don't realise that just because you need it doesn't mean other people do or don't need it. You need to have a full awareness of the whole community, not just a small portion of it, because we are so very different.
Ensure throughout the organisation there is commitment, capacity and understanding to bring about change through co-production.
My advice to any area, authority or organisation that's embarking on a co-production journey would be to ensure that you have the capacity to commit the time, resources and energy necessary to make a real change. It's essential that all stakeholders recognise that there is real senior commitment to the process of change, and that also they're in a position to be able to demonstrate that things can be done and will be done differently, because people often hear this, whether it's in terms of asking for their opinions, their feedback, etc. That isn't the same as co-production. There has to be a real desire and a demonstrable desire to show that this will bring about change.
Working with different people with different views can be challenging. Be prepared to accept mistakes will be made. This is part of the co-production journey.
Always going to require a lot of time. It's always going to require a lot of patience sometimes. And I think there are always going to be moments where things could be misunderstood, or you don't do something as well as you could have done. And those people have to come back to you and say, you're not doing this right, or you've misunderstood my feedback, or I gave you that feedback and you didn't get back to me on that instance. I think when you're working in that way with people, you've got to expect that there are going to be those moments where you don't get it right, and you have to just try and take that on board, say, I'm really sorry, how can we fix this?
Ensure that you prepare and train staff who will be involved in co-production. it's not just the parents involved that need training and support.
And the other thing would be, if you are involving professionals in your co-production, you're thinking about doing it, don't forget to prepare them and support them. Yeah? So our job was really charged to support the parents for that, but equally some of that training around asset-based community development was also geared about supporting the professionals to come in that space, because for them, there's a fear, it can be a challenge as well. People just free access to scrutinise or challenge. But the idea is that they need to be supported, they need to understand it, and they need to be brought into that space.
Beware of being tokenistic and ensure you have representation across the community you're supporting so that different perspectives can be included.
I think sometimes really thinking about how accessible it is to people, and the idea that, you know, one parent perspective is that particular perspective. They can't represent and speak for all parents because all of our experiences are so different. So actually the more you can make it possible for people to contribute, the more you capture those different experiences and perspectives and feelings. And I think that then helps to make something really strong and really suitable and appropriate for that wider audience. But it's about kind of really thinking, you know, it's not just, oh, we've got a parent on the list, that's our token person done.
Yeah.
Co-production is a valuable way to bridge the distance between decision makers and people in the community with real life experience.
And that lived experience is a key part of anything we do. If we're pushing anything in the community, or if we think we're doing good for the community, go and talk to people. Because in reality, decision makers are too remote to really understand. And that always is the same response. When it happens and decision makers do come together with people with lived experience, they all walk away with the same thing. They've learned something very, very valuable, and they're much more closer to what the experience is.
People may be sharing very personal experiences. Make sure you check in and follow up to support them.
So obviously with A Better Start, they ran loads of projects, and I remember being involved in some where it felt like I was taken on in that particular instance as more like a so-called expert by experience. You know, I've got a son with autism and would be speaking about maybe special needs and things like that. But sometimes I felt like my bleeding heart would have been open. I would have said a load of uncomfortable things. And then sometimes after the meeting, you didn't hear back.
Co-production is difficult for a reason. It's challenging because it strives to share power equally. This is one of its main strengths.
And if you're ever at a point where you're saying, co-production stuff's a pain in the neck and I don't really want to do it anymore, then that's not the point. The point is it's a pain in the neck for a reason, and the reason is that, you know, we need to listen to all sorts of different voices to make this thing work. And so, you know, that would be my advice. Also, don't be scared by the dictionary definition. You know, it can feel, and I certainly felt, almost intimidated by what had been written about co-production and the idea of this co-production perfection. As I said earlier, it's about human beings working well together, and if you've got the right values, you can do it.
Building on the success of the ABSS co-production journey and the voice of the parent champions, which was integral to the success of the programme, Southend City Council and Southend Association of Voluntary Services want to carry on collaborating with parents to share their lived experience to shape services. People who are pregnant and/or an existing parent with a child or children aged 0 to 11 years are encouraged to become parent voice ambassadors and be part of meaningful discussions with partners across local authority, health and education. For further information, visit the website link shown on screen.